your personality creates your personal reality. That's it.
Yeah.
And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So the present personality who's listening to this show has created the present personal reality called their life. Well, it makes sense. If you want to create a new life, you want to create a new personal reality, that means you got to change your personality. And I think most people try to create a new personal reality without changing who they are.
Exactly.
And so then what is the formula to become conscious of your unconscious thoughts? To notice how you act, how you speak, how you behave, to pay attention to how you're feeling. And the act of observing those states of mind and body, Dr. Ron, means you're no longer the program, because when you're the program, you're unconscious. So the first step to change is becoming conscious of that unconscious process. Turns out the word meditation literally means to become familiar with. Now, that's lighting a match in a dark place, and that means then when you sit down to create something new in your life, you're going to come up against all the things that have to change in order for you to arrive there. So that lighting that match in the dark place is all of a sudden coming up against thoughts like, I can't, it's too hard, I'll never change, it's my ex's fault, or, you complain, you blame, you make excuses, you feel sorry for yourself. These are all unconscious programs. You live for 20 years of feeling guilt, but you don't know it's guilt because you feel that way for the last 20 years.
It becomes normal.
It becomes normal, right?
It becomes used.
So then the premise is once you become conscious of those unconscious states of mind and body, so conscious and so familiar with them, you wouldn't go unconscious to them in your waking day. Now you're out of the bleachers and you're on the playing field. So then the next fundamental question is, if meditation is to become familiar with, what thoughts do I want to fire and wire in my brain? And if I pay attention and I have intention, our research shows you begin to install new circuits in your brain. Keep repeating it, keep firing and wiring, and that hardware becomes a software program, and all of a sudden you hear the thought in your head that says you can. Anything's possible. There's nothing magical there. You install the circuitry. So then if you could close your eyes and say, who do I want to be when I open my eyes, when I start my day? What behaviors do I want to demonstrate? The act of mentally rehearsing who you want to be and going through the actions in your mind, when you're truly present and truly focused, the brain doesn't know the difference between the real life experience and what you're imagining. So then you install more neurological circuits in your brain, because typically the neocortex is a record of the past. Now you're priming the brain to the future. If you keep repeating it, the hardware, by firing and wiring, becomes a software program, and all of a sudden you start behaving like a happy person. Well, there's no magic there. You actually prime the brain for those behaviors. And now here's the tough part. Can you teach your body emotionally what that wonderful practice, what that wonderful life, what that wonderful future could be like, and not wait for the event to happen so that you can feel joy or feel freedom or feel love or abundant? That's the old model of reality, of waiting for something outside of us to finally change, to take away our emptiness or lack. The deal is that when you begin to condition your body emotionally into the future, now you're no longer living by cause and effect, you begin to cause an effect. And so when people trade limited emotions like fear or anxiety or frustration or resentment for elevated emotions like gratitude and freedom, it's that heart-centered state that begins to cause the body to literally emit information and energy. And that energetic release we have measured begins to cause the brain to begin to change, and it gets more creative. And so people then, when they truly change how they think, how they act, and how they feel, and they become so familiar with those thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that they begin to create a new personality, well, then it makes sense. And if they're diseased, the disease exists in the old personality.
That's right.
They're literally somebody else. They're not visualizing anything going away. They're understanding that the stronger the emotion they feel, the more they're upregulating genes. Well, why? Because it says the environment signals the gene. Everybody understands that. But the end product of an experience in the environment is an emotion. So if you're living by the same emotions every single day, your body is so objective, it doesn't know the difference between the real life experience that's creating the emotion that you're fabricating by thought alone. So you're headed for a genetic need because the body's not getting any new information. Begin to have people understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, and they assign meaning to what they're doing. They start suppressing genes for MS, suppressing genes for leukemia, and start upregulating genes for health and immune regulation and IgA and all the wonderful antibodies that begin to restore and repair the body. And so we've seen dramatic changes. I can tell you right now that you can absolutely change the way your brain works. You could absolutely make your heart more balanced. You could lengthen your life. You could upregulate genes, 8 different genes that have to do with cancer suppression and tumor cell growth, to grow new neurons in your brain, to diminish oxidative stress, to stimulate stem cells to go to damaged tissues and repair them. Research shows that you can do that in 4 days. And so I think this is a time in history where it's not enough to know. It's a time in history to know how. And common people around the world are doing the uncommon, and it's like a 4-minute mile. Somebody stands on the stage in an event and says, hey, I've been dealing with this Parkinson's disease for 20 years, and I just had a moment, and now I don't have any tremors. Everybody leans in when they see that. What we found in a very indirect way, as you get closer and closer to the expression of innate intelligence through your nervous system, through your body, and I say that's my definition of health. My definition of health is the expression of coherent energy through your nervous system. And as you get closer and closer to innate, it tends to be more and more love. You tend to feel more elevated in your heart. And once energy makes it to the heart, our research says it goes 2 ways. First way, straight to the brain. That's because we see it on functional brain scans every time. The second thing that happens is the heart becomes orderly. It begins to emit a field that can be measured, that's magnetic up to 3 meters wide. Now, the body is connected. It's not feeling separate. It's feeling very connected. And when you feel that emotion, you would never look for your future. Why would you look for your future if you feel like it's already happening? There's no place to look. You're not separated from it. Now, something kind of phenomenological happens that's really weird. Because when we create things from matter to matter, we got to drag our body through space and go get it. And we're going to estimate how long it's going to take, 2 years, 5 years to buy the house, the car, the boat, whatever. That's matter trying to influence matter. And when it doesn't work, you force outcomes, you control outcomes, you manipulate outcomes, you fight for them, you compete for them, because that's what you do when you're matter trying to affect matter. But once energy makes it to the heart and the body's emitting a field, and the heart makes you feel connected, the brain becomes more creative, it goes into alpha states. Now all of a sudden, you have a Wi-Fi signal. The brain's coherent, the heart's coherent, and now the inverse is true. Now you start seeing synchronicities, coincidences, opportunities coming to you. Like you're not going anywhere to get them, you're the magnet. And so then doing the work, people come to heal, they come for wealth, they come for new relationships, they come for a new life, but really what they're coming for is wholeness. Yeah. So then what we see is when people start to connect, there is a tremendous release of oxytocin in the brain and body. And oxytocin is the love chemical. But now, it's not coming from a relationship. It's coming from your relationship with innate. It's coming with your relationship with a future vision, that you're falling in love, bonding with your future, just like you would bond and fall in love with somebody else. Now, oxytocin signals nitric oxide. And nitric oxide signals a chemical called endothelial-derived relaxing factor. And what does that do? It signals the vessels in the heart and the lungs to actually expand. Now, here comes a lot of blood flow, a lot of energy right into your heart, and you're going to physiologically feel your heart feeling full. And now, when that happens, all of a sudden, there's only one thing you want to do, and that's give, because you feel so amazing. You go from the selfish state of the stress hormones to a selfless state. And what you're saying really is, I just want you to feel the way I feel. And the only way that I can express how I feel is to give to you. That's what love does, right? That's what gratitude does. We did an experiment. We took 120 people. We measured their cortisol levels and we measured their IgA levels. Immunoglobulin A, your body's primary defense against bacteria and viruses. It is better than any flu shot. It is the body's innate flu shot. Turns out as cortisol levels go up, the immune system goes down. Why? Throwing out all this energy for some threat in your outer environment, no energy in your inner environment for growth and repair. So the immune system downregulates. So we said, okay, we measured the cortisol levels, we measured their IgA levels. We said, for 4 days, let's get heart-centered. We'll put a heart rate monitor on you. We'll measure when you're coherent, and let's get you into feeling gratitude. Now, the emotional signature of gratitude, when you're receiving something, when you just receive something that's favorable, when something amazing is happening to you, or something surprising or amazing just happened to you, you feel gratitude and you say, I thank you. So the emotional signature of gratitude means something just happened. Right. Something favorable just happened. Now your body's so objective that when you feel gratitude, it can't tell the difference between something that you're getting from your outer world or just by fabricating it by thought alone. So then when the body moves into that elevated state of emotion, it switches down the sympathetic nervous system. Here comes the parasympathetic nervous system, and now there's energy for growth and repair. So in 4 days, IgA levels went up 50% just by feeling gratitude. Now, the worst thing that could happen to you by being grateful for things in your life or things that are going to happen in your life is that you're going to heal. That's the worst thing that could happen to you. So researchers that study my work, they say, listen, your oxytocin levels on your students are really high in 4 days or 7 days. I mean, oxytocin levels are normally high when female mammals are bonding with their offspring, or you're in that honeymoon stage of a relationship and it creates monogamy and connection and bonding, and that's really the way it should be. But now they're saying to me, what are you doing at your events? I mean, well, I said, because I want them to be in love with their future, just like they're in love with somebody else. And you're bonded to that future, and no person, no circumstance, no condition in your environment is going to remove you from it. And that's when people practice this, the cool thing about it is that once they understand the formula, they know how to do it. It's not like, oh God, I got to go meditate today on creating a new life. It's not like that. They're up and they want to go. Why? Because they don't want the magic to end. They don't want those synchronicities to end. And now the universal intelligence, that is that quantum field, that is that unifying field, that is source, it is singularity, it's the 0 point field. That is when if you are connected to source or universal intelligence, why would you go anywhere to get anything? Right. You wouldn't have to. So then I'm always amazed with chiropractors because they talk innate intelligence, they talk about it, but they make very little effort to connect with it. And I'm telling you, when you have that arousal and you experience it, you're going to know that it's absolutely real, and you will speak with a different level of authority. And removing subluxations in the nervous system allows the expression of that intelligence.